Oluebube Princess Ebuna, and I'm a senior software engineer at Well Beyond Water. So today we're going to be talking about how to use Chrome DevTools effectively. One of the things that we do with Chrome DevTools is just console.log, inspect elements. But then apart from that, there are a lot of things that Chrome DevTools can do for you. And it's not just the console.log, there's emulating systems or different types of devices. There's checking for performance of your application and then getting maybe suggestions on the things that you could do. You could also check out the accessibility, how accessible your application is on Chrome DevTools, and a lot more. So it's not just the console.log. You know, before now, I used to I used to just use the console.log. I'll just check, oh, this variable was passed, or that was not passed, or this function is running, or that function is not running. And then I do a lot of console.logs to find where the application is breaking. But beyond that, there are a lot of things that you could do with Chrome DevTools. In fact, you can use it as your IDE. You don't need to use VS Code or any other code editors. You could do all that on your Chrome DevTools. And we're going to be discussing about how to do that. Like I already said, there are other things that Chrome DevTools rather, could do, like emulate devices. You could have like, you can check out what your application would look like or how your application would behave on an iPhone, on an Android phone, or any other type of device. And you could also create and edit files on your Chrome DevTools. There's also detecting memory leaks and checking out performance of your application. You could also do a lot of debugging. Like I said, debugging doesn't just have to be console.log. There are breakpoints, there are debuggers, and there are all, like a lot of other things or other ways to debug your application. Like I mentioned earlier, you can also audit the application, your application performance, and a whole lot of other things. So on a MacBook, the way to open the Chrome DevTools is Command Option J. Because this is a very practical session, I'm going to be demonstrating everything live. So this is one of the sites I use often, Jumia. So if you look at this part of the DevTools, you can see how this image is represented in the DOM over here. So this image is an SVG, and then you can modify anything here. You can, right now it only has a class of IC. You could just double click on it and add more classes if you have any class or any class that you've created or any class that you want to add to it and look at what it actually looks like. I could also delete this entire DOM element. So once you right click on it, you can see edit attribute, you can see edit as HTML. What I want to do is delete this element, and as soon as I delete it, it's no longer there. So you can play with your web pages like this. This is useful when you're working on your own application. Like, it doesn't make sense doing this on another person's website. This is just a demo. But if you're working on an application and you want to see what the effects of some of the things that you do on the DOM, what the effect is, you can actually go through DOM elements, delete DOM elements, edit DOM elements, manipulate DOM elements in any way you wish. Okay, with the inspect button also, as soon as you click on inspect, and then you click on an element, you can see all the styles that are associated with that element. So if you click on this, you can see, once you scroll down, you can see all the DOM elements, including elements that were inherited, styles that were inherited for that element. Basically, all the styling around that element, you can find it on the styles pane, right? So the next thing we are going to be talking about is the console. Again, I say one of the things that we do with the console is mostly console.log. But with console, you have access to the entire document. So your application is a document, or your web page is a document, basically. And on the console, you have access to all the DOM elements. So you can manipulate the entire web page on your console. If I select this particular image and I go to the console, I have access to this. I have access to this image simply by doing this. So using this, I can get this image, modify it, use a different image, change whatever images they've added there, and just modify this web page. And as soon as you refresh, by the way, all this is gone, because this is not on your local machine, right? This web pages are being served from a server, so you don't have access to that server. So this will only persist if you are working on your own application. This is not our application. This is just a demo application. So sources. I mentioned that you can use your Chrome DevTools as an IDE. So I'm going to drag and drop a file here, and it's going to create a workspace for me. So as soon as you click on allow, it just drops that folder here. And if you click on the file explorer, you can see all the files that are inside this. And you can edit any of those files. And if you edit it, it actually edits the actual file. So when you go to your status logs for your application, you would see that the file has been modified. So when you're trying to maybe make changes on the web page, and you don't want to be copying from here, from your Chrome DevTools to your IDE or your code editor, you can just drag and drop your folder here, and whatever changes you make here that apply on the web page is going to be applied to your file system. Does that make sense? Is there anyone trying what? Yes, it will apply to your local. Is there anyone trying this out here? You're actually doing this here. Awesome. Any other person? Awesome. So does it work for you? What? Does it work for you? Awesome. Is there any person that this is not working for? What? You have a question? No, it doesn't need to be open. It doesn't need to be open. So the next thing we're going to talk about is the network tab. So when it comes to network, you need to use the network tab only when you want to see how downloads from the server happen. So when you load a web page, different resources are loaded, right? Images are loaded, CSS files are loaded, documents are loaded. JavaScript is also loaded, right? So if you want to see how that happens, or the kind of resources that are downloaded on a web page, you can just refresh this page and then observe the network tab. And then you'd see how each of the pages are loaded in real time. The amount of time it takes to load a resource. You'd see the resources that are loaded, the amount of time it takes to load the resource. So you can see how each of the pages are loaded. You'd see what is loaded at each point in time. Screenshots have been captured. You can see how this happens real time. So for some reason, I can't find. Awesome. So this is what I was looking for. If you refresh this page, you'd see every resource that is loaded, the status, Statuses are messages that are sent from the server to you to actually tell you, if I use status to explain it again, to tell you the status of your download. That does not make sense, but so you can see the status. A status 200 means okay, the file was actually downloaded without, or the resource was, the resource got to you without any, perfectly, right? Yeah. And then you can see the domain. You can see the type of, the type of, the type of requests, the initiator of the request, the size of the resource, the time it took, and then this was what was displaying initially on top, like a visual representation of how all those requests, requests were made to the server. That is what Waterfall actually displays. So that was what was displaying initially before I pulled this down for us to see this entire space. So the next thing we are going to talk about, I think I should just use my slide to guide me. So let's talk about accessibility. So I'm going to use the same Jumia application. So if I go back to this inspect and then I inspect this image, who knows about ARIA accessibility and how accessibility works? Nobody. Awesome. Can you tell us what accessibility is and what that actually does?
Yeah, my name is Victor. The accessibility is a medium to provide guys that are disabled, maybe they can't read, using screen readers. So the real labels give them insights into what part of the DOM they are on, what part of the page.
Any other person wants to tell us what accessibility is? Yeah. Okay.
Making the web accessible to everybody, irrespective of your disabilities and all.
Awesome. So did you guys hear what he said? So making your application or your web page is accessible to, that was what you said, right? Accessible to everyone, irrespective of their disabilities. So different people have different disabilities. Some people use glasses, some people are blind, some people can only use the keyboard, they can't have access, or they don't have access to a mouse. So you have to make provisions for every kind of person. So when building web applications, one of the things that you need to consider is accessibility. So if you want to check for accessibility on a DOM element or on your page generally, you can just select what you want to check for its accessibility and then click on this accessibility tab, and then it's going to show you each element and how accessible this is. So if you know about ARIA, ARIA is the standard for building accessible web applications. So sometimes you might click an image and then the image might not have, okay, see for example, there's no labeled by. This is not actually necessary here. This is especially necessary for maybe modals. Okay, there's an ARIA label here. There's no title. So if you look at this, you can see what is missing and what you could do to improve the accessibility of your application. So you can check how accessible your web app is by looking at this pane, right? Does that make sense? There are a lot of other things that you could do with the Chrome Dev Tools, and you can find a lot of them on developer.chrome.com. You can check that out when you get home. Developer.chrome.com. Developers.chrome.com. Did you get that? And any questions?
So we were
Okay.
talking about using Chrome to replace the IDE.
Okay.
Yeah, but I was trying to open an Angular workspace,
Okay.
but it didn't see it.
You didn't see it.
Yeah.
Okay, can we debug that after this?
All right.
Like,
no problem.
all right.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Awesome.
You are using a very fast machine to design a website. So, but you want to record the performance of that website on a very low machine. How can you use Chrome
So
DevTools to achieve
you
that?
can throttle, you can try to throttle maybe the network, or try to use a different device, or try to, like, you can try to do this on fast 3G, slow 3G, see what it looks like offline. Like you can create like custom simulations that you want to do, right? So let me test this on slow 3G, for example. If I reload this, it will now give you like different numbers that you could use to test that out. Does that make sense? Awesome. In the absence of any other questions, I'm going to share the slides with the organizers, and you're going to get them. There are also links there that could help you use this tool effectively. You could also register for Chrome DevTools Summit. They are constantly releasing new features every year. In fact, almost every quarter they are releasing new features and fixing bugs that are there. So you could try to attend that summit to see what's new. You can also see what is new on. So whenever you open the console, there's usually a tab here that says what's new. So you can also check what is new on Chrome DevTools there. And that brings us to the end of this session. Thank you.